Well, a perfect property is exactly what it's all about. So am I about to find one here in Beckenham, a suburb of southeast London? It has good links to the city centre, and today I've come to its high street.
Now this really is a rather busy road, but if you're one of the shop owners along this parade here, well, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Lots of potential customers passing by. And the good news is I am here to see a shop, a former barber's to be precise, together with 2 flats on the upper floors. Now, it had a guide price of £440,000, which is rather interesting, as last year the 2 flats alone were on the market for a combined value of just under £475,000. This could be a rather trim guide price, don't you think? Well, my first impressions are it's smaller than it looked from the outside. Quite a lot of glasswork needs to be done in here. Things like a new shop frontage can be quite costly. So, you know, that's something I'd be getting quotes on straight away because glass can be expensive. And it does tend to narrow down into the end here. Now, I know this was a barber's. I can see here, there's that shop awning, barbers across the front. Whatever you put in here, bear in mind it could impact on the value of the flats above. So you've got to be really careful what you decide to do because the space isn't ideal. You've got a very wide frontage down one end and it's certainly pinch points at the back. I suppose you could use this as a nail salon, an office perhaps. So whoever takes this on has got to remember to think about all those things.
Yes, there's decisions to be made and work to do before this place is ready to trade. But on the positive side, the shop does have toilet facilities. Now, what about those flats, which, as I mentioned, together have been valued at not too much more than the guide price for this whole lot? So snap this up for anything like that guide price, and you could have a shop for free. Let's take a look.
So into the first floor flat, and I will mention good security here because you've got your own entrance downstairs and your flat entrance here, which is a real bonus. So 2 bedrooms here, not a bad size double, another one down the end of the corridor and the bathroom. And, well, it's incredibly spacious in here. I wasn't expecting this. A really, really nice, sunny, bright room with a massive window. Now, luckily, let's just check, yes, that's all double glazed. You will have to think about some really nice blinds or curtains because you can see straight down there onto that very busy main road. But another feature I really like is this open plan kitchen space, although it doesn't look like it's been fitted terribly well, so I'd have a little rejiggle with this space. There are things you need to do in this property, like the flooring. It's all starting to come up here, so you're probably going to have new carpets, new flooring, all the skirting boards are chipped, it needs a paint job. But you know, this could be quite quickly ready to go, and I imagine this would rent out really, really quickly.
Up into the top floor flat, well, it gets even better. Another 2-bed, this one, but it's spick and span and you wouldn't need to do anything at all. Surprisingly spacious as well, considering it's on the top floor in the eaves of the building. All in all, this is looking pretty good, and I haven't even finished yet. Out the back of the property, there's a sizable car parking space that could offer opportunity for expansion to the shop, subject to planning, of course. On the whole, I reckon this is an interesting lot. But what does a local estate agent think?
The guide price of $440,000 for this property is very good, given that the 2 flats above could potentially generate even more than that.
Let's talk valuations. Assuming these flats get a little TLC, what kind of rental income could they achieve?
The first floor flat, we could ask for a rental figure of £1,150 per calendar month, and on the top floor flat, we would ask for £1,100 per calendar month.
And to sell on?
We would market the first floor flat at £250,000 and the top floor flat at £240,000.
As for the shop, our agent believes he could achieve £1,000 per calendar month in its current configuration, or up to £1,250 per calendar month if you were to extend into the car park. He thinks the shop's current sale value would be £220,000, but again could rise as high as £250,000 were you to extend into the car park.
Well, there's not too much work to do here, and you do get a lot of property for your money. In fact, it could even be 3 for the price of 2. Who thought this former barber's and its flats were a cut above the rest? Let's find out when it went to auction.
Mid-terrace building arranges a ground floor shop and residential upper parts, well located. Who'd like to start me on this? 400 anywhere? 400 I've got. On the phone, 405 anywhere? 405, thank you. 410. 410, 415. 415, 420.
This lot was the subject of telephone interest as well as in the room. We rejoin the bidding at 446,000.
446. New competition, 446. 447. 448, sir. 448. 449. 450, sir. 450. 451. OK, have a think. It's with the gentleman here at the end of the row on my right. Anybody else? If not, 450 for the first, 450 for the second, 450 for the third and final time. All done. Sold, 450.
And the successful bidder, paying $450,000, was Jag. Former accountant Jag has been a property investor for 10 years now, and he lives just around the corner from his new purchase, so it was easy to meet up for a chat.
Congratulations, well done.
Thank you.
So you've bought a shop and 2 flats.
Yeah.
Did you expect to get this on the day?
Not really, because I was looking at other properties, but there was, I thought there would be a lot more competition for this property.
How do you feel about the price you paid?
That was the exact price I was budgeting for, but I didn't think I was going to get it at that price because the auction price was starting at 440. So, you know, I was very lucky to pull it in at 450.
So really, just £10,000 over the guide price
Yes.
for all this property?
Definitely.
Actually not bad.
No.
However, it's not quite as cut and dried as that. Because the windows were damaged during the buying process, his loan became very complicated. So a bridging loan has cost him 25 grand. Ouch! Jag does have a portfolio and was an accountant, so it's reasonable to assume he's done the maths and still thinks it's all going to be okay.
Now, Jag, I know you've got a background in accountancy. Is that what sort of led you into property in the first place?
It was quite difficult to be in employment and try to buy properties and do them up. But I'm very pleased to move into property because it gives me more time to spend with the family. I get to do my school run for my son. So it is, for me, it gives me a lot more spare time or free time to be with the family. I decide how to spend my time, whereas previously somebody else was deciding that.
So that's lovely for you, and do you feel much happier as a result?
Definitely, definitely more happy.
Oh, I gotta spend more time with you, yeah, that's why.
That's lovely. With property, sometimes there's more than just simple profit to be considered. So now that Jag is master of his own time, what does he intend to do with the property?
What are you going to use the shop for? Something for yourself, or are you going to let it out?
No, I will use it for myself. The plan is just to move into an office because I've been doing my work from home and my home is a mess with paperwork and files everywhere. So I'm hoping to move into the office and set up a letting agent.
Is this a new venture?
I've done all my lettings myself in the past. I've done it for over 10 years and I feel I can go down that route as a side business.
And do you feel confident?
Not 100% because I'm not sure who it's going to turn out to be. I mean, in my head, I sort of know what I want, but whether it will work out that way or not, I'm not 100% sure yet.
So what about the car park out the back? Have you thought about extending?
I have looked at the space. There is a great potential to do a double-storey extension if I get planning permission, or even a single-storey extension, but I wouldn't touch that for now. I will just concentrate on the shop, get it up and ready, and then I'll think about the space at the back.
Jag is being sensible, taking it in bite-sized chunks. He already has a tenant for the top floor flat, so that's a cracking start. And he has a budget of £5,000 to renovate the first floor flat and another £5,000 for the shop. He's feeling his way with the lettings business, but he has put himself in an ideal position.
Do you feel, in a way, that you've got the shop for free with what you've done here? It's you know, you've got the chance to experiment with that business almost because you've got a free premises.
Well, this is the great advantage. I'm under no pressure, obligation, finance costs, whatever, because the shop sort of come in for free. So yes, I can take my time and do what I want, and if it doesn't work, I can always rent it out.
Jag, I'm really excited for you. Congratulations, well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Jag choosing property over accountancy so he has a better lifestyle and more time with his son. That sounds like as good a reason as any to me. So he's got plenty of property experience, but he's never run his own lettings agency before. How will he get on? Join me later in the programme and you can find out.
We're back in Beckenham, South East London, where there was one lot with a guide price of $440,000, but 3 properties within that lot. Yes, on sale was a shop and the 2 two-bedroom flats above. There was also parking at the back, giving room for a future extension. The successful purchaser was Jag, with a bid of $450,000. Jag was a former accountant who had moved into property investment in order to allow greater flexibility in his working hours.
It gives me more time to spend with the family. I get to do my school run for my son. So it is, for me, it gives me a lot more spare time or free time to be with the family.
The shop offered Jag a new opportunity to start a property letting business, and the 2 flats he intended to rent out. The top flat was ready to go, and Jag had secured a tenant, but the other needed some work, and the office needed a complete overhaul. He had a budget of £5,000 for each of them and a timescale of a month to get the business up and running. Four weeks later, and we've returned to see how Jag got on. Jag already had an offer to rent the upper flat when we first visited, and true enough, a family have moved in and made it their home. On the first floor, having checked the gas and the electrics, Jag gave the flat a coat of paint, and it now also has its own tenants. But it's downstairs in the shop where the biggest changes have come. There'll be no more short back and sides in here. Instead, Jag has a refurbished office and loo, and I'm glad to say, some new windows.
Yeah, this is the front of the shop, which was smashed when we first bought the property. We've had the new shop front put in, and we've put the grill also for added security.
Jag's 2-week timescale has just passed. The flats are rented, and he just has to move furniture into the office, and it should be ready to go. Things are looking good.
The letting agent will be up and running in a week's time. And I've already had one inquiry with a landlord passerby who asked when I would open, and he's got a house for me to rent for him already. So I'm hoping to pick up that business next week.
Well, that all sounds promising, but Jag left his full-time job in accountancy, not just for the financial benefits of property, but also to improve his family life.
I have had a lot of time to spend with my family during the school run and spending more time with my son. With all the paperwork lying in my house at the moment, once the office is finished next week, I can move everything over to the office, and my wife will be very happy to not have paperwork everywhere in the house.
Jag has has never developed a commercial property, so was unsure about costs. Did he manage to stick to his budget?
We spent £2,500 on a fourth floor flat. That was mainly to do the painting and the decoration. The original budget for the shop was £5,000. We went over it by 50% because I couldn't anticipate the cost for the shop front. I've managed to spend £7,500 to refurbish the shop. Overall, the budget is still £10,000, so I've managed to keep the overall budget the same.
Jag spent £450,000 on the property at auction and only 10 grand on the development. However, he also had to get a bridging loan, and that cost him £25,000. We've asked along 2 local estate agents to see if they think it's all been worth it.
The shop's really nicely done. It's been well painted, good hard floor down, so wear and tear will be good on the shop, so it's a good investment. In terms of the flats, I was very, very impressed. And the nice flats, very nicely done.
At the moment, there seems to be a shortage of commercial properties in the locality. So, you know, that's a strength. You know, when it comes to selling, if there's not much around, then you can push the boat out on price.
Including the bridging loan, Jag has spent a total of £485,000. Both agents thought the shop would rent for £1,000 per calendar month. So what do they think the flats could rent for?
We would ask for around £1,100 per calendar month per unit.
In terms of the rental of the flats, for each of them separately, they'd get £1,100 per calendar month.
Those valuations mean that Jag will get a yield of nearly 5.5% on the flats alone, and he still has a shop to run his business from. As for the resale valuations, one agent thought the flats were worth £250,000 each, while the other pitched them a little lower at £225,000. That upper valuation would mean a potential resale totalling £500,000. So if you take away his £485,000 spend, he has a shop for free. If you throw the top valuations in for the shop, he could sell the lot for 750 grand.
I'm very excited with the valuation given. It's a lot more than I expected. So buying it for 450,000 and potentially could sell at 750, it's very good news all the way around.
That upper total of £750,000 would give Jag a total profit of £275,000. Now, this is where we always say minus the usual taxes and expenses, and you probably don't think too much about it, but you should always remember that it's there, and here's why.
Yeah, the legal fees for a semi-commercial is quite different from a residential. It's a lot more expensive. For example, I had a quote of £500 originally. The minute I mentioned semi-commercial, the price went up to £1,500. The total legal cost is in the region of about 20,000, which includes stamp duty of about 15,000.
Now, while commercial property has some differences, there are all sorts of fees in residential to keep your eyes peeled for too. Stamp duty, legal fees, planning fees, and of course personal tax, to name but a few. Remember to do your homework and make sure they're in your calculations. Anyway, onwards with the new business for Jag, and it sounds like he might be at the auctions again soon.
Auction is the way forward for me, purely because I go there and I get the property I want on that day.